Hello, 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 and welcome to Jews with the News. I'm Eli.
Jack.
We have a great episode today. We've been gone for a while now. We're really excited
Like
to
two
get
months.
for like 2 months. I know it's been a crazy 2 months. Not so much for me. For me, it's been really boring, but for Jack, it's been really exciting.
It really has it.
Well, it's been incredibly hectic, I guess, to say the least. And so we took a 2 month sabbatical, a hiatus, a break, whatever term you
Yeah.
choose. And we're happy to be back. We missed a lot, so we're gonna try to cover it all. It's gonna be a longer episode.
Oh
And
Lord, we're trying to cover it all.
we're gonna try to cover it all. And
Oh
we
no.
we might, you know what, we might miss some things, we might not miss some things, we might talk about some things you wanted to hear, you might not hear about some things you wanted to hear. But
So if there are, let us know.
and ring that
There,
ring
and
that
ring that
button.
bell.
Ring that. Thank you.
There's a lot of ways to show support and show what you want to hear.
And the
So,
more buttons you press, the more money we can make
the
potentially.
more buttons you press, the more money you can make. Okay, shall we start what I would like to call Jews with the news? What did they miss? Did they miss things? Let's find out.
Yes.
If you know, you know. Um, what do you want to start with? What should we start with?
Let's start with kind of the biggest thing that's happened, which is the transition from the Trump presidency to the Biden presidency. Because I feel like that really is the biggest thing, just in terms of headline news that we have
Yeah,
missed.
right.
So let's
So
talk
the
about that.
inauguration happened. That was cool.
That was great. Did you watch that?
I kinda
Yeah.
parts.
I
I watched
will.
Biden's speech and I watched the poem, and that was pretty much it. I didn't
Yeah, I
really
will.
see. I didn't see. I saw the end of him getting sworn in,
I saw that too. I
but
literally woke up to see the vice president and president get sworn in, but I slept in really late that day, so I didn't actually.
same.
Yeah,
Me
exactly.
too.
I didn't actually hear the poem. I had to go back and listen to the poem because everyone was like, "Oh my God, it's amazing." So I
Well,
had to go
yeah,
back
that's
and
why I did.
listen.
But
Yeah, so I had to go back and listen to it. I also was so surprised to hear that Roy Blunt, who's a Missouri senator, one of our senators, gave a speech at the inauguration. I didn't
he
listen
did.
to it. I
Wait,
didn't
hold up.
listen to
What?
it. Yeah.
Mm.
But it was about like unity or something. Because I guess,
Well, he's like in McConnell's pocket pretty much. Like
yeah.
anything McConnell
Um,
does, he does. So that
ex-
doesn't really surprise me if it was about unity.
that's fair. But it was interesting. The inauguration itself wasn't that,
Right.
spectacular. It was
It
co
never
so many
is.
people. Yeah, exactly. Nonetheless, it was a big event. And then what has happened is that, Trump has kind of taken off, or not Trump, Biden has kind of taken over the office of president of the United States. And he's done a lot of things. Some of those things are good things. He re-signed us into the Paris Climate Accords. He
Good.
ended the travel ban. So he's definitely done some good things. There have also been things he said he would do that he didn't do, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, like for example, I don't know the exact number. I'm not gonna pretend that I do, but he said that he was gonna stop deportations, and since his presidency, there's been a whole a whole lot.
Yeah.
So kind of lied about that. He also said that he was gonna pass the stimulus package,
Mm.
which also hasn't happened. But the House just passed a package. It was like 1.4 trillion. So I think people would get 1,400
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to I think Biden was promising 2,000, but this also comes with like vaccine something or others. I don't know. I need to do more
Sure.
research into that, but it comes with like some like thing that gives like a safe pathway of like getting a vaccine or whatever. So it,
Sure.
it does more than just give people money.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I mean, I think the hope was because we have a Democrat in the presidency. We have a Democratic Senate and a Democratic House. So I think there was a hope that there would be a little bit more progress being taken.
right.
It's not to say there haven't been any good things, but especially for people like you and me whose lives necessarily, even though everything Trump did, we hated, right? Like we can stand in defiance of what he did. What he did not necessarily have as big of an impact personally on us as a lot of the greater population. So really for people like you and me, the difference between the Trump presidency in our personal lives is really just how it's affected our like mental health and our attitude, which is not to say that like he hasn't done anything, Biden hasn't done anything, but you know, people like you and me don't really experience that
Right.
any big thing that Biden has done, because he's mostly done things that haven't really affected us yet.
Right.
um, so it'll be interesting to see what he does. You know, I know he's promised a lot of things. I know healthcare is a big thing on his agenda. It's a big thing on pretty much every Democrat's agenda, but I don't know if anything's going to happen as a result of that. You know, there are a lot of issues
Yeah.
that I'm a little worried about Joe Biden not really taking any action on. You know,
Yeah. I also don't feel like even if he introduces stuff that he'll like stand his ground. You know, like the second he faces like backlash, I feel like
yeah. I mean, you have to remember too. This guy is like really, really old, and it's you know it for him like everything's just going to be more energy out of him, right? Like he doesn't have the you know the crazy body of Trump who can eat like 4 Big Macs, eat Diet Cokes, and like tweet constant, right? Like he hasn't
right, right,
he's in and out of things, and so it'll be interesting to see if he's able to prioritize anything too much or with such an emphasis to actually try and
right,
create any sort of
right,
political change,
right.
at least
As
right now.
long, yeah, I'm hopeful, but
Hmm.
we also need to continue to hold people accountable. Just because he's
Exactly.
better than what we had before
Hmm.
doesn't make it okay for him to do bad things.
Yeah, and like you said, I mean, he has the stimulus bill. Let's go back to that. You said there was some stuff about the vaccine that might be in that.
Right.
Um,
And Biden also like promised that he would get, I can't remember his number, but he wanted like a certain number of people vaccinated.
right.
I don't think that's happening either.
I don't think that's happening either. There's definitely been more vaccinations under a Biden presidency. Um,
Right.
Missouri, our state, or at least my state, is one of the worst. I think it's
Oh,
well, you're in
it's
Illinois
the,
right now. You don't count.
well, at the current moment. Okay. All
Uh,
right. Continue.
Missouri, I think, is the second worst state in the country for vaccine distribution. It in terms of percentage of people who have received the vaccine. There are a lot of areas where it could be better. And you know, we're still looking for better tests. I mean, with the new UK variant, the vaccines are only something like 75-80% effective. So, you know, it's
Mhm.
still good to get vaccinated, but you know, we're always looking for better vaccines. And
Right.
so it's been tough. I know Johnson and Johnson announced a single dose vaccine, right?
Yeah. I do think that was only 60% effective, is what
Okay.
that said. But it's supposed, I think it might have been yesterday or like sometime today that it's supposed to get uh, approved by the FDA.
Okay.
Um, so look out for single dose ones, but
Exactly.
I think it is slightly less effective.
Yeah.
Um, so we'll see how that ends up. Um, so yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, there's not too much to add on that topic other than the fact that things are moving slower than they probably should be.
Exactly.
I think to put blame on one person is incorrect because it's the whole system. Because each state has its own distribution methods, but
Yes.
as a whole, America is not doing a great job of it.
Hmm. Something else we missed while
This
we
whole thing is
were
about something else we missed.
what? This
It's a
whole thing
bad
is about something else.
transition.
Fine. Well, speaking of distribution, there was a distribution of opinions in the
There
House of
you go.
Representatives and Senate
There you go.
during the Trump impeachment hearings that we also missed.
Right.
So let's talk about that. I mean, what were your takeaways from that whole process?
Okay. It can it confused me. There were a lot of things that happened that just didn't add up.
Hmm.
So I'm going to start with the fact that so I can't remember how many hours like each side got or whatever.
Sure.
But it was like, I think the people who were in favor of impeaching former President Donald Trump went on for like, what was it, 3 days?
Something like that.
Right, 3 days. They set up this whole case. They brought in new evidence, whatever. They spent a lot of time, a lot of effort getting that done.
Right.
That was to be expected. That's what I thought was going to happen. Moving on. The Trump legal team took less than 1 day.
Hmm.
That was odd.
They took no time. I mean, because
I get it, because like they were going into this, we all knew what was going to happen. He wasn't
Yeah.
going to get impeached. I think the odds were very improbable
right.
for him to get impeached. But something about that just shows a complete disrespect for any legal system.
It was disrespectful, and also it was just so blatantly arrogant and cocky, and it's the type of thing you would expect from someone like Trump, and you know, something you kind of hate to see. Kind of, it felt kind of like, he wouldn't show up. He literally just hired 3 lawyers for a day to just like go and basically say nothing. Like, he didn't really say the legal defense wasn't really a defense. It, like, they literally said nothing of value. And they knew that too. And people in the Senate said, like, well before the trial even took place, that like they were gonna they already made up their mind. So it wasn't really about present. The only reason that they were gonna present evidence was gonna be because it was gonna be televised. And I think the Republicans knew that, like, we didn't want to, or they didn't want to drag it out. They wanted to make it big and flashy and make it be over.
Yeah. So okay, right, and then the next day they voted on witnesses.
Mm-hmm.
They voted to get witnesses.
Yeah.
And, to my surprise, I didn't think this was going to happen, but it passed.
Right.
Like, they said that they could have witnesses. And I was like, whoa, that's crazy. It's not going to change anything, but,
Right.
cool. We get other people saying stuff besides these lawyers. And then McConnell comes out and says that he's voting to acquit Donald Trump, just out loud, just
Right.
blatantly. It's like, okay, interesting timing. And then after that, the Democrats were just like, you know what? We don't want to bring on witnesses. Let's
Right.
just vote.
Yeah. And it was interesting too, because after that, McConnell was like, I'm going to vote to acquit, and then he was like, someone should really like do something about this guy. Like, he
Right.
like right after
He
the
said
vote, like,
he said he should be held accountable.
Mhm.
Right after he said he was going to acquit him.
Crazy.
That whatever. That's a different story.
Yeah.
But what I wanted to talk about is, why in the world would you put all this effort into giving a 3-day case as to why he should be impeached, put in effort into getting witnesses passed, finally actually getting the vote to go your way, and then just dropping it?
Exactly. I think there
It-
was I feel, I think there was like either hope or maybe an expectation even that the impeachment would bring along more supporters, it'd bring along more viewers, people would be more involved, like people like us, not non-politicians, would be more involved in the political process, or at least watching the impeachment hearings. And we didn't really care because we knew what was going to happen, because the Senate already made up their mind before it even started. So there would never be a 2/3 majority vote to convict Donald Trump. And so I feel like there was this like either hope or expectation the Democrats had of a lot of people tuning in, watching, maybe getting outraged, or a lot of things like that have happened in past Supreme Court nominations, right? When you think about Brett Kavanaugh, there was a lot of civilian support on that, civilian outrage, and even though it didn't do anything, I feel like there was kind of a similar expectation. And then after like 4 days, nothing happened, and they were just like, oh well, there's not really any point in trying. um you know
Yeah. It just like like last impeachment trial, the first one, Jesus, there were two. That's still crazy. Anyway, the first impeachment trial had a purpose. The second one was a theatric,
Yeah,
and I disliked it
yeah. I mean, well,
from
but
all standpoints.
both had a purpose. Like both were impeaching for legitimate reasons, because there were
Right,
like a
but
bajillion reasons one could impeach Trump. But yeah, this one was clearly because they thought that the time was aligned, right? Right, like the insurrection just happened, the riot just happened, and
mhm,
so enough of the country was outraged
right,
by Donald Trump supporters that they thought they could get away with it.
right. Speaking of Trump doing naughty things,
Nice transition.
thank you.
Yeah.
Um, he has been under a lot of scrutiny because he will not let anybody see his tax returns.
Yep.
Um, except for a couple days ago, like a week ago,
Yeah. We could go.
about a week ago, which we'll get into later. A week ago, uh, the New York Federal Court District ruled that his taxes can be subpoenaed. And now that the Manhattan lawyers, or some Manhattan people, go with that,
New York
have
City.
millions of pages of his taxes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Thoughts?
I think it's great. I think it's going to be very interesting. I really am interested to see what his taxes look like. I mean, I don't have any expectations at all, and I don't think this will change anything about how I perceive Donald Trump. But I think it's going to be really, at the very least, uh, fun. I guess is the right word, to just like be able to like look at this man's tax records and just look at the dichotomy between what he said and what he did for like the bajillionth time. I have a feeling that like most other millionaires, and he's hired a good enough accountant to get him a tax return that is fairly low. And so I guess if there is like a legitimate tax return, or has been like he has a history of like legitimate tax, returns based on his actual income and spending habits, I would be surprised. I wouldn't be grateful, because I don't feel like you should be grateful that someone is doing what they're supposed to be doing. But I think it'll be at the very least interesting. What do you think?
Well, I'm approaching this on two hypotheticals. One, they don't find anything, and one, they do find something.
Yeah,
And by something, I mean something illegal.
right.
They do find something, people are validated. There probably grows more turmoil in our country. People are more divided. He can actually go to prison,
Right.
something like that. Whatever. If it's not found, if nothing is found, his supporters and him himself will continuously say that it was a witch hunt. He never did anything wrong. Greatest president of all time. And if nothing is found, it is a perfect segue for him to run again in 2024.
And by the way, it's not like unfounded either for that same reaction to occur, even if there are like crappy right? Even if there are like suspect tax records, right? Like say it's released that he filed $0 and his income tax for like, since he was like 20 years old or whatever, right? Like it's not it wouldn't be surprising to necessarily go on to, turn on like, Breitbart, or, listen to like a Trump interview and hear them say like, oh, those tax returns were totally fake. They made them up. Like, I'm the most loyal taxpayer of all time. And for half the country to just suddenly be like, hey, there's a witch hunt going out, on right now. People are faking the president's tax return, which obviously isn't true. But that's also a possibility too, which is scary. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, speaking of money,
Speaking of money,
speaking of
another
money,
another big thing happened. This one's
this one was
more
wild.
light.
This
This
one
one's
was
light.
wild.
The stock market kind of went ape shit the other while we were gone.
Language,
Sorry.
language.
Um, This isn't a children's show. We can curse. It's okay. I tagged the little button on the YouTube.
Nice. Okay, good, good. Just making sure.
And it literally took a subreddit to just take down the stock market.
Respect. Okay, first off, respect to Reddit.
I'm not
I think that's amazing.
sorry, you're right. How amazing is it that it only took one subreddit to take down the stock market? I guess is how I should have.
Imagine if all of Reddit
Exactly, right?
it was like, you know what? Let's just run up GameStop stock even more. It gets to like 4K.
Yeah. It's absurd too, because it kind of just shows how unrelated the stock market is to the rest of our economy, right? Like it's not like a
Right.
strong stock market or a strong stock has any indication on the strength of a company or the strength of an economy. So it was useful, I guess, for that lesson, but really it was just really fun to see, like, wow, AMC, who hasn't, opened its doors, and which hasn't opened its doors in like forever, is now valued at like $127, and uh,
It does create an issue for these companies because they're not,
right,
pulling in enough revenue. I mean, obviously they're down now because
yeah,
everything, but like it's an issue because like the stock market is already pretty corrupt and the
right,
rich people have like, a hold on it and they get to do whatever they want. And then when, the normal people do that, they're like, wait a second, that's not cool.
yeah.
So it created a whole like, like mentality that it's like, oh wait,
You
they're
have
not
to
allowed to do
work,
that.
yeah, you have to work on Wall Street in order to do these things, and that's
Right.
not true. And also, I think it kind of showed that, that they're okay with Wall Streeters doing that, right? But the minute anyone else tries to, right, like Robinhood shuts it down, right? The New York
Yeah,
Stock
they
the New
stopped
York Stock
letting.
Exchange shut it down too, so because they weren't
That's
allowed to sell
ridiculous.
GameStop stock. So people who could have potentially made, you know, thousands, if not millions of dollars, right? Like imagine if you put down like $1,000 onto GameStop, right? Like you would be, you'd have at least like $100,000, right? And so
Yeah.
if you sold it at the right time, at least, and so
It's just this the stock market is just so stupid,
so
in my opinion.
like,
It's not a good. I don't like how when people say it's like, oh, our economy's good. Look at the stock market.
yeah,
It's not how that works.
exactly.
And it's a lot of straight white males. So
Mhm.
that's cool.
And even if it's not, it's a lot of people just out to make money for themselves and other rich people and
Right.
using it.
But what are you gonna do?
What are you
Also
gonna do?
with like cryptocurrency. Can we talk
Yeah,
about
go
that
on.
real quick? So
Yes.
like Elon Musk
Hmm.
is now the richest person in the world. We missed that, I think.
Hmm.
So that's pretty cool. But he's been tweeting a lot about cryptocurrency being the future, Bitcoin, Dogecoin, whatever.
I can't believe Dogecoin is one of the most viable cryptocurrencies, but
Well, it's only valued at like 6 cents.
yeah, but for cryptocurrency, that's like
That's a lot.
abnormally, yeah.
You're right.
It's not
So
like one of the
I'm curious.
most, yeah.
I'm wondering if 20, 40 years in the future, cryptocurrency is all that matters.
That's going to be interesting. I don't think so, just because in 30 or 40 years, there will still be people who don't understand what cryptocurrency is,
Yeah, but
in positions of power.
that's what Darwin wrote his book about.
No, well, that's what I'm saying. After those people leave positions of power,
Adaptation and evolution.
I think it'll be a little longer. I think it, and not to go down a path, but I think robots will have taken over before cryptocurrencies become a viable option.
That's got you. Okay, how recent do you think that's going to be then?
I think robots will not take over. I think robots will seriously change our way of life, like dramatically in ways that we can't even think of within 40 years. And the estimate that people in AI are giving ranges from 50 to 100 years. So it's not like far, it's under, but it's not crazy under.
But they're not going to take over in the next 4 years.
Well, depending on who you ask, they will.
Well, if I ask you, they will. But if you ask anybody else, they wouldn't.
They won't take over, but they will make our lives much, much worse. That it will change our way of life most likely in a negative way. And I think it will be because of the human aspect more than the robotic aspect, but I think it will change our way of life in a negative way
Interesting.
within 40 years. Hopefully, we will be alive to witness the end of the earth. But let's not go down that side project. or
We've talked
yeah,
about this too much.
about this too much. Instead of talking about war, let's talk about some peace, right? And there were a couple great Nobel Peace Prize nominations
True.
that have happened. A couple bad ones. Greta Thunberg was nominated. Stacey Abrams was nominated. The Black Lives Matter movement was nominated, and then also like Jared Kushner. But that was messed up.
The fact that Jared Kushner gets nominated ruins, like the validity of
It ruins the validity of
the other nominations.
It ruins the validity of the nominations, yes. It doesn't necessarily ruin the validity of the winner. So hopefully,
Right. No, I'm not saying.
Yeah.
I'm saying the nomination.
Yeah, but you're definitely
Because
right.
Isn't there? Okay, I'm not sure. Is there only one winner, or is there multiple winners?
There can be multiple winners. Like the same year that Malala won the Nobel Peace Prize, I think it was an Indian doctor who also won with his work with female women's rights.
Okay. So it is okay. Yeah. So I don't know what Jared Kushner did. He was also nominated by Alan Dershowitz.
Yeah, exactly. And the fact that Alan Dershowitz can nominate someone for a Nobel Peace Prize simply because he was
A Harvard lawyer
professor for so long, a Harvard Law School professor for like a certain amount of time, also kind of like like you said, ruins the credibility of the nomination process.
Like the fact that the other three got nominated is amazing, and I love that, and that's great. And it's important that those two individuals are getting recognition, and that the movement is getting recognition. But yeah. I mean, it's tough to talk about because like, does Jared Kushner deserve to be mentioned in the same sentence as Stacey Abrams?
Right, like he doesn't. At least in my opinion, I don't think he does.
Right, I think some people would say that he does. And
right, and
whatever.
I think those people are dumb. But they have their right to think what they want to think. And I think it's kind of disrespectful, right? I think that the people nominated, at least from my life experience, have historically been people who are genuinely making a difference, right? Like forget about trying to make a difference, right? Like these are people who are actually making a positive impact in the global community, right? In terms of peace, which is one of the most important qualities of any society is peace. And so I think it's kind of disrespectful to just throw in President Trump's son because you can. Son-in-law. He hasn't done any, like there's been no action deserving, right? Like even if you think the Middle East plan is a good plan, it hasn't yielded any results that have been that different than what Obama did or Bush did before Obama, or
right.
But yeah.
Speaking of Jared Kushner, as some of you may know, he is Jewish.
He's Jewish,
unfortunately.
Yes.
But also something that we missed that happened in the news. They found out about our little side project.
Yeah, they found out about our lasers.
Our lasers that are causing forest fires.
I know. I don't know how they found out about it.
Marjorie Taylor Greene, she's just on another level.
She's on another. I mean,
she's on a different wavelength.
She's living in 3005, where
she's on infrared radiation.
She is on infrared. That was just so weird. Like things keep happening that are like, that's not real. Like I don't even know how to react to this stuff anymore. Like, do you know what I mean?
How did she come? How do you come up with that?
Exactly. Like what? I want to know what YouTube videos she was watching that was like, yeah, I can believe that an entire group of people have secretly developed a laser that they use to start forest fire. Like where's the evidence
She
for that, and where's it's
she's a nutcase.
she has a
That's what
nutcase,
she is. She's not a good human being,
a big old nutcase.
morally standing. So that's disappointing. But I don't know how she got in office. I hope she's not reelected. But
Yeah.
I mean, Cori Bush had to move her office away from her because of the threats she
Right,
was giving her.
exactly. That was crazy too. I mean, I think didn't they remove her from all committees in Congress, right?
They did, yeah.
So
Why don't they just remove her from office? I don't understand that.
first of all, there's that, and also, like, what does that say that there are people currently serving in the United States Congress who genuinely believe that, people like you and me have access to a laser that can start like, you know what I mean? Like just think about that for a moment. There is someone out there who is probably Jewish, whose representative, their own representative, said that they should not be, that they should have less rights because they are more dangerous, right? They can start forest fires. It's
Right.
crazy.
She also tried to cover it up by saying, "No, I didn't say Jewish, like Jewish laser. I said, what was it? Shrewish?"
Shrewish, shrewish. Which also like dumb. Like we know what she said, and she sent out an apology memo saying she said it,
Right.
and that was dumb too. Everything
It's so
dumb,
stupid.
very dumb. We've also got
Speaking of anti-Semitism.
speaking of anti-Semitism, some of you may know, some of you may not. That Jews with the News has run into some of our own anti-Semitism. Isn't that correct?
We made it. Let's go.
We made it. We got a comment on one of our episodes. Do you remember which episode it was?
Season 2, episode 13. Pardon the interruption, I believe.
Okay, thank you. And it was from this guy who was sent
Hold up before
Yeah.
you say like what the comment said.
Yeah,
The guy's like YouTube channel name was Jew News.
Jew News. No videos up. We'll
But
see.
that's crazy that we got an anti-Semitic comment by Jew News.
Maybe Jew News is like news about the Jews, so you can stay vigilant at all times, right?
Probably. But yeah, we'll go with that.
And he says like Adolf Hitler was right. He rose to power because there were wrongs in society and needed to wipe out the vermin, and Hail
Us being
Hitler,
the
and it
vermin.
was right. It was all this horrible anti-Semitic. He called us vermin, right? And it was just really. Do you have the actual comment pulled up? Hold on.
I can pull it up real quick.
All right.
Pardon.
It was crazy. Here, I have it pulled up.
Oh,
They
shit.
tried to destroy Germany. That's why Adolf Hitler was voted into power to rid the country of the vermin. Jesus is God. He does on the cross. Don't deny him. That was a typo, obviously.
All right, there's two. I have two big issues about this.
Yeah.
One, it says he does on the cross and not dies on the cross.
Right. Exactly.
That's I take great offense to that being part of the grammar police.
Yeah.
That's the big issue. Second big issue, he says Jesus is God.
Right. Which
Jesus is the Son of God.
Jesus
I hate. I mean,
that
I hate to be that guy.
Not to go down that road either, but like, right, people who, no religion is more valid than the other one. But as a Jew, the idea of God, of Jesus being both God and the Son of God, is something that I just cannot understand for the life of me. Like, not only is he God and the Son of God, he's also the Holy Spirit, which I'm gonna be honest, like I don't know what that is. So for me, I feel like that's been one of the most confusing things. So if any of you are proud of
Want to explain it to us
and want to explain it to us in non-anti-Semitic ways, you can please let us know.
or
um,
anti-Semitic ways, and then
and then
we'll
you're gonna
not
be that
listen to you.
person. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
So yeah, that was the thing that we dealt with. It's really not that big a deal.
yeah.
Like, I don't see it as that big a deal. Like, yes, it sucks that we have to deal with it, but like,
Yeah.
it could have been a lot worse. And it's not like, like we're not taking it like poorly, is what I'm
We're not
trying to
taking it
say. It's
poorly.
like it could have been worse, and there have been worse
Right.
things said to other people. That's why I'm like, well, it happened, but like,
Exactly.
it's
Right.
not important.
Yeah. That's you're right. No one got hurt. No one got, no one was, attacked personally, or no one's mental health was affected by the comment.
Right.
So there is kind of that don't get me wrong, there's like real anti-Semitism as someone who genuinely hated Jewish people, but we aren't that scared, we aren't that threatened,
Right.
and the comment was taken down, so it's fine. Yeah.
But like, I would also like to bring up a quick point. It might not be quick. We'll see how quick it is. But I the stigmatism, okay, this is tough.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
The stigmatism around anti-Semitism is that like you are anti-Semitic if you are anti-Israel.
Hmm. Which this guy was not. This guy was genuinely anti-Semitic,
This
but
guy was generally anti-Semitic, but I'm kind of addressing a completely different
yeah.
point because I've seen like a lot of stuff recently being like, oh, this person's anti-Semitic or this person's anti-Semitic for saying something that, was just against the Israeli government. It's tough. I mean, there are forms of that stem from anti-Semitism. I'm not saying that that's not possible. If you are anti-Israeli, you could also be anti-Semitic.
Hmm.
But the line that everybody attributes, like one comment being like, "Oh, I dislike Israel," being inherently anti-Semitic, is just blatantly false.
Exactly.
And what irks me about it is it not only discredits the Palestinian lives and
Right.
all of those who are being affected by the mismanagement of the Israeli government, but it also like discredits actual anti-Semitism by
Exactly.
attributing something else that isn't really it.
Right. Um, yeah, it's very annoying. I think the issue of Israel is something that a lot of Jews struggle with, or at least should struggle with. In its modern day system, at least, the political version of Israel, not necessarily the religious version. And I think what is upsetting is that there isn't that struggle happening, and so because there is a lot of Jews who confuse, or maybe not so confusingly, believe that Israel, our homeland from the Bible, is the same as Israel, the political country founded in 1948, are the same thing. And so to them, it feels like an attack on Judaism, when it's really an attack on a political institution. Um, and so I think there isn't enough of that struggle happening for a lot of Jews, regardless of where you finally end up on. I think at the very least that struggle helps you understand why being anti-Israel is not necessarily being anti. It can be, and off, there are definitely, a number of situations where it has been, but it doesn't have to be, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know how we're gonna transition out of that.
I think, uh, let's
You don't need to try. We could just move on.
here. Speaking of moving on, Silento will not be moving on with his free life because he killed his cousin, and that's messed up.
he
Uh,
he 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 hit that whip and Nene too soon.
too soon.
Too
Uh,
soon.
it's kind of like that was like a sixth grade icon for us, and that that's just crazy. I don't know if there's anything more to say other than the fact that
That had
this,
happened.
this legend of the creator of the Whip and Nay Nay is now going to
Well,
prison
I don't think he
murdering his
created it. He just made the song "Watch Me
yeah
Whip." Now watch me nay nay.
yeah.
Hit that stanky leg.
And what was the other one? Superman.
No, that's Soldier Boy.
Oh yeah, that is Soldier
I
Boy.
don't know. It's
It's not Soldier Boy, it's Soldier Boy.
yes, Soldier Boy.
Um,
Okay. Anyway, speaking
anyways,
of other rappers, Bobby Shmurda was finally released. Not
yes.
much to say other than the GOAT is finally out. Continuing on, the Super
Uh,
Bowl happened.
let's talk about some sports. I know there are
Yeah,
a
I
lot of
guess
people.
we got a couple sports stuff
I know
to
a
sort
lot
of
of you
end this
guys are
out.
sporty people. We haven't talked about sports in a while, so let's start with the Super Bowl.
Okay, so the Buccaneers got it destroyed.
Destroyed.
That was cool.
Absolutely
It was kind of
crushed.
a boring game, although
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes did put on a show, just none of his receivers could catch.
Yeah,
He had
I
some
believe that.
crazy throws.
I think that
Dude was doing everything. I don't
think-
understand.
I think that Devin White should have won the Super Bowl MVP, but I think Tom Brady definitely had a performance of his career, so I'm not like mad that he was given the Super Bowl MVP.
I think that Tom Brady is the GOAT of football.
The go football.
I mean, I feel like he was, but I don't think he'll ever be passed at this point.
It will definitely be difficult to try and pass him. I think he's not the most talented quarterback ever. I think that will probably be either Aaron
Right.
Rodgers or Patrick Mahomes, at least depending on where they're at when they.
Well, talent's a different story. I mean, there are a lot of quarterbacks who are talented, so it's kind of
Football
hard to
IQ.
measure.
I think I define it by the best football IQ.
Right. This doesn't need to be an argument from the podcast, but I do agree that Tom Brady isn't the most talented or athletic of football players, but my God, does he just win everything?
He wins and like I'm gonna be honest.
And then he
part of
goes
that
out
is
and parties, and that's
part of
good.
that is because he has like a top level defense most years, right? Like a lot of quarterbacks could win a Super Bowl if their defense only allows 9 points.
Okay,
But part of it is
true.
also because he's really clutch, right? Like the NFC Championship game, even as a Packers fan, I'm not going to deny, was pretty clutch by Tom Brady, right? And so,
Right.
yeah, you're right. He definitely is.
He just performs well.
He did
And
perform.
it begs the question is where does he lie in the greatest athlete of all time?
He only
of all sports.
It is an interesting question. Here's an interesting thing. I think the only other person who has more Super Bowls than Tom Brady is Bill Belichick. I think he has 8 Super Bowls.
Not anymore.
No,
Wait,
he has,
does he?
because he got 2 with the Giants when he was a coach there, I think.
Oh, right. Wait, did he?
I think so. We can double check real quick.
Huh. Good for him. But
so I think that
he also didn't play. But I'm talking about like throughout sports, like is Serena Williams better?
That's
Michael
an interesting
Phelps?
question, right? And I think it's
LeBron James, Tiger Woods.
I don't think that a football player is, in terms of like best athlete, is going to be as up there because, football players are always part of a 53-man roster, and even if you're a quarterback, right, your performance definitely has a serious impact depending on the talent of the people around you. So I feel like for me, and this is why it's difficult because Tom Brady is definitely like the GOAT. He's definitely really talented, but for me, it's difficult to judge how talented he is when he's constantly surrounded by other really good players.
Right. I agree.
Um,
I agree that I wouldn't put Tom Brady at the top of my list.
yeah.
But something has to be said that nobody else has done what he's done in his sport. You say that it's like, oh yeah, it's a team sport, blah, blah, blah. You have like so many other players that have contributing factors, yet nobody has done it before. So
I would argue Michael
is an
Jordan did
outlier.
that. I would argue Michael Jordan did what Tom Brady did. Tom Brady did it 1 more time, I guess, because he has 7 and Michael Jordan has 6. But Michael Jordan literally led like a dynasty, like three in a row, then like 2 years off, 3 in a row again, right? Like
Yeah, well, he played baseball, so he won 6 in a row.
right. He won 6 in a row.
Right.
but he took the team through a dynasty of his throughout, at least the latter half of his career, and even in the
But
first
he
half of
also had a really good supporting cast.
he really, yeah, I mean, you're definitely right. He had
That's why
arguably the
I would
greatest
say.
coach. I mean, both Tom Brady and Michael Jordan had arguably the greatest coaches in their respective sports of all time, and so I think it is kind
Well,
of difficult.
that's why I would say it's like I wouldn't choose them. It's tough to attribute all of their success to just them. Like, yes, obviously they had a part of it because they continued to win, but it's tough. That's why I would say Serena Williams or Michael Phelps are probably at the top of my list.
I agree. I think those two people are great.
Not saying that they didn't have trainers too, but
Yeah. Simone
whatever.
Biles. Simone Biles is crazy. Listen to this. They have had to name, I think it's 11 new gymnastic moves after Simone Biles in the past like 3 years because no one else has ever done it before. Like she's the first person to do these moves. And it's like 11 new ones within like 2 years. It's absolutely incredible. So I think she's up there too, probably. Um,
What about Tiger Woods?
Tiger Woods is
What do you
great.
say about him?
Um, you know, I'm not trying to disrespect the athleticism involved in golf. I think he's a top level competitor. I'm not sure about a top level athlete.
Okay.
That's my take. What about you?
I mean, I agree. I only bring him up. I wouldn't really include him in the conversation. I only bring him up because of what happened, and that was
Yeah.
a semi decent
Let's talk about
transition
that though.
into
Yeah.
that. So, geez, he got in a really bad car crash.
Really bad car crash.
He's
Yeah.
okay. Got surgery, and he's fine
Probably
now.
will never play again though, right? Like his career's over.
I could only imagine that he would never play again, which sucks because I wanted to see him continue to go out there try to win because
Yeah, it's crazy.
so that
And all that's left
it
is like
sucks.
his children, right? I mean, his son plays golf.
Will his son
son
carry on the torch?
Probably not.
Probably
Let's
not,
find
but
out.
maybe
Yeah,
we'll find out next week.
we'll find out next week on With the News as we interview Tiger.
Why do we have that written down? It's horrible. Why did we say it? Oh my lord. Okay, and then another thing that happened in sports was that Naomi Osaka won her fourth major,
I think it was the Australian Open, right?
the Australian Open. She's 4-0
And
in not
she's-
only Open semifinals but also Open finals.
And she's 3-1 against Serena Williams, I think.
She's 3-1 against Serena Williams. She beat her in the semifinals. I watched that match.
Crazy.
She destroyed. And after the press conferences, she was like, I don't know. I got lucky.
By the
I
way,
was like, what the hell?
her personality like you expect someone that talented of an athlete to be so aggressively competitive. Like that's what we're used to as athletes. And
Right.
you're right.
When
just
she's
like,
on
"I
the
don't
court,
know."
she is. And then once she stops playing, she's just like the nicest human being alive.
Right, exactly. It's I can't imagine anyone who is not a fan of Naomi Osaka except for like whoever she played in the finals, parents. But yeah, good for her.
Yeah.
Good for her.
I think that covers like pretty much everything that we could think of the day before doing this.
The day before doing this, we're going
again. If we missed something,
let us know.
Let us know. But we are. You want to do it, or do you want me to? I'll do it. Let me do it. So we're gonna start a new thing at the end of every episode, where depending on whose turn it is, we come in with a fun fact and we blow some minds, and we just have a discussion about that because Eli's got a lot of time on his hands, so he's been looking at a lot of fun facts. So we're gonna do this as a tribute to him. So with the first ever fun fact on Jews with the News, Eli, hit us off.
All right. So I am a big fan of marine life fun facts. You'll probably hear a lot of them when it's my turn. And I chose this one. So there is an animal called the melon-headed whale. This animal is not a whale, it is a dolphin, and it does not have a melon head. It just has a lot of fat in their head, and so it kind of makes it puff out, but it's not melon shaped. It's more long and slim. So first of all, the melon-headed whale is neither melon-headed nor a whale, which I feel like is
That's
absurd.
pretty ironic.
But also, a fun fact about them is that the men take twice as long to mature compared to women. Women hit their maturity when they're 7, despite the fact that they live to, I think it's like 60, so that's like pretty young age for maturity, right? And it takes men until they're 14, which is crazy. And so oftentimes they travel in pods between 100 and 1,000 at a time. They're very social animals, but because they reach maturity at different levels, oftentimes they'll self-segregate between men and women within the pod. So like the top half will be all men and the bottom half will be all
So
women. or vice
they're
versa.
incredibly sexist
Yes. I mean, kind of. Yeah. They're
in a
also
sense.
they're also
Not really.
they're not endangered. They're incredibly social. Like we said, that 500 to 1,000 are in a single pod, and yet we know very little about them, despite the fact that they're social. There are a lot of them, and there are a lot of them together because they typically live very deep in the ocean seas.
Mm. We need to get down there.
We need to get down there for sure.
Would you rather go deep in the ocean and explore there, or explore outer space?
Explore the ocean. Oh, can I share a fun fact?
Another one?
Yeah. We
If
can
you'd
only
like.
use one if you want after this is
No,
over.
no, just share
Okay.
it. It's fine.
There is one
Nobody's
per-
listening at this point, so it's okay.
There is one person who has been both. There's only one person ever who has been both to outer space and the deepest level of the ocean, the deepest part of the ocean. I forget her name, but she is a biologist. I believe she's an oceanographer, and she went up into the International Space Station to study oceans from a big distance away. And then she went down to the deepest part of the ocean, which, by the way, only 10% of the amount of people that have gone to space have been to the bottom of the ocean. So it's more prestigious to go to the bottom of the ocean.
Wait, but I thought you said only one person's been to outer
Sorry,
space. And
what I meant by that is that for every 10 people that go into outer space, only one person goes to the bottom of the ocean.
gotcha. So
Um,
you would rather explore the bottom of the ocean.
Also, there's just like so much we don't know that we can see with our own eyes. Like so many animals that are down there. So many.
Would you rather discover a new species, a new species in the ocean, or aliens?
Aliens for sure. No
So
question.
why would you want to explore outer space?
Because you can't explore outer space from the International Space Station.
But I never said you were going to the International Space Station. I just said
Well,
you were exploring space.
I don't want to. I don't know. I don't want to be.
Use your
It's
imagination.
because going to space is a huge time commitment, and I don't know what my schedule is going to be like. And
Okay,
if-
you know,
if I have
you know
plans
what?
when we
But
get
the ocean isn't a huge commitment. That
It's
seems
not as
like a
huge,
really
yeah.
huge commitment.
Well, you go down, you go up, but if you want to go far enough out into space to explore alien life, like that takes decades to get to that level of, no human has ever been able to get right. Like you are basically saying, I will spend the rest of my life in outer space. That's not the same if you want to go to the deepest level of the ocean.
Okay.
What about you?
Both. I don't want to do both.
Fair.
I can't decide. They're both so cool.
They are both so cool. Right, well,
Anyway,
That
yeah,
concludes this episode.
quite a long one, but we had a lot of shit to cover.
Mhm.
Sorry, I'm swearing a lot now that I know that we can.
Well,
We had a lot of stuff to cover, so
mhm.
not too shabby.
let's tune in next week to see what else we talk about.
Yes. Thanks. Yeah.